Right, let's try this now. Okay. All right, so let's see how we're going here. Right, is this working or not? No. Ha, finally. Ha, finally. There we are, fam. Welcome. Yeah, that is the last time I'm using Streamlabs ever. Out in the field, fam. Total waste of time. Now let's just bring this back a bit. Okay, so just excuse me for a second. I've just got to check our angles. How are you, everyone? Finally, we're going to do a fly casting stream. So let me just... Agent Cal Gibbs, Culpable and Martin, welcome, mate. Just going to check that we've got enough clearance for the casting. So welcome to today's stream. What we've done is formed a partnership with the owner of this property, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing some fly casting tuition today, and then we're going to be stocking this with freshwater fish to provide content for our community. So not for much longer. That's referring to the bot, nothing else. So let's catch up. Okay, so that's good. Now let's just bring this back a bit. Okay, so this is probably going to be a better option for us. We'll go to the wider lens. Okay, excellent. Let me just get the phone sorted, fam. UK Sea Fishing with Dan, how are you, mate? Martin, welcome. Now just hang on a second, people. We'll just rest this trusty fly rod up against here. I'm just going to see the visibility of the fly line, and then if this one's not that crash hot, I'm going to put a new fly line on, and then we'll use that. Okay. Okay. There we go. So that's good. Let's chuck that down there so it picks up less breathing. Right. Okay, now that's good. We have a picturesque setting. Right, that's charging. Let's bring it here now. Okay, that's good. Don't wet that gem, it will stop working. We'll just wait for a couple more people to turn up and then we'll get into it, okay? There we go. So, trials and tribulations of streaming, fam. I've just realised why well, basically it wasn't working. Oops. Let's get to this now. Okay, that's nice. We have charging on the phone, which means we have the stream. We're in the shade. my wristband, and we are cooking with gas, sort of. Alright, that's the modem, which is linked to our streaming equipment that allows us to get reception. Oh, we're all good. Wristband. Phone. Yeah, that's me, culpable. If you want to learn about fashion, you don't ask me. You're talking to a guy that wears Crocs to weddings. Yep, that's right. Right. Let's get this going now. Excuse me for a second, fam. Right, so we go to YouTube. Let's bring up the stream. We have volume. Yes. Okay, I don't know whether we're going to be able to see the fly line too well, but we'll find out in a second, won't we? Now, let's just give that a little bit of zoom, not too much. Yep, okay, fam. Alrighty. Now, welcome everyone. Oh. Let's just see how this is working. You're not going to see a single thing from there, are you? Nope. Or maybe... Hello, Terry. Good, Rich. I've been a little bit unwell, mate. But all in good time. Right. So, let's just see. You're not going to be able to see a thing there. Righto, plan B, fam. We're going to go to the saltwater gear. What I'm going to do is show you how to put together saltwater gear. Okay, we need a thicker fly line and we need a more fluorescent fly line. This is far too bland, says the guy wearing a flannelette shirt and Crocs. So, let's bring that here. Let's bring this down here. All right, famo. So, that's interesting. Let's put a couple of these down on the wet grass so that it doesn't kill our streaming equipment. Get in there. Hang on a second, man. Right. Nice. Let's get this sorted. Okay. So let's bring this into here now. All right, brilliant. Okay, famo. Welcome. Now let's just see this. Terry, hello Terry, how are you? Rich and Leo. Martin's in here. A big shout out to the Great Britain contingent of the YouTube fishing community. Thank you for giving up your time. It must be late over there. All right. So, to everyone that's in the stream that isn't a fishing streamer, people like Martin, Rich and Leo and Dan have been absolute champs since we've been on YouTube. So please do them a favour and click on their channel and give them a follow. All right. So, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a crash course in how to set up fly gear. Now, fly fishing in the old days with the silk fly lines and the tweed, everything, tweed hat, tweed shirt, tweed underwear, tweed pants, tweed boots, not very waterproof, but hey, it was tweed, you know. Whereas nowadays, everyone can do it. And, you know, there's an affordable option for everyone out there. So what we're going to do is, oh, you're welcome, Rich and Leo. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a fluorescent yellow fly line, because guess what? You can see it. So in the old days, when fly lines were made of different materials, you'd have to stretch them out before you could use them. Nowadays, it's a bit different. In the old days, they had a Dacron core. Some fly lines now have a monofilament core. Oh, which one was that on? Pretty sure it was that. They have a monofilament core, and they also have a, some of them have a braid core, which is good. Let's get that up there. Kathy, how are you, mate? All right, welcome, Kathy. So, what we will do is, I'm just going to extend this fly line. In the old days, when we were doing fly lines, you'd tie them off to one end of your yard, or you'd find a couple of trees out in the bush, because you'd have to let them stretch and drop, okay? Otherwise, it's a bit like training a puppy new tricks, if you know what I mean. So I'm just going to wind this out over here. And then what we'll do is we'll wind it onto a reel. Now look, there's lots of different ways that you can join a fly line to your line. I'm thinking, oh yeah, I think that's right, yep. And this is the emergency method, if you want to call it that. It's quite simple. It's just the nailless nail knot, okay? And I'll show you how to do it. It's pretty easy. It's just a glorified snell knot. Oh, excellent. This one comes pre-made with a loop. That's fancy. Oh! Come on, Mancubus, your secret's safe with us, mate. All right. So, let me show you a little trick here. What I've done is, on the backing of this fly line here, right, I've done a Bimini Twist, which I do all the time, right? So this is what we're going to do. We're going to just get rid of this for today. This is a bit old. I think the last time I changed this was last century, actually. So, what we'll do, okay, is we're just going to put our backing through the guides, like so. Now I retrieve left-handed, which is actually the correct way to do it, because being right-handed, that's my strong hand, so that's what I cast with. Okay. Well, Rich and Leo, if you want to stream, right, you need 3 phones. You need a phone to stream, you need a phone to read chat, and if you want to get fancy, you need another phone to play alerts that's linked to a Bluetooth speaker. But more about that in a another come on. So why isn't that screwing in? Come on, I know what. Let's loosen that up and then we'll screw that in there. That's better. Come on, get on there, you bugger. Yep, top quality Chinese stuff, this one. I think we're going to lose the reel today. So why isn't that? Oh, that's why. Did that snap off? No, it didn't. Beautiful. Get out of there. I think it did. Well, that's a bit of a pain, isn't it? Excuse me for a second, fam. A little bit of a technical glitch again. Oh, God. Love it. Oh, well, we can only do what we can do today, famo. Yeah, that's why I stopped importing this product. All right, there we go. Okay, it's all right, Mancubus. We know who it is. Welcome, Mancubus. How are you, bud? You caught any stripers yet, matey? All right. So, famo, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to join your fly line. It's pretty simple. We just do what's known as a nailless nail knot. Now, fly fishing is it's more of a sport now than anything, and it's a massive retail venture. So if I can offer a bit of advice, don't get sucked into thinking that if you spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on equipment, it'll help you with your skill set. Right? If you can't cast properly, it doesn't matter whether you're using an $80 fly rod or an $8,000 fly rod, if there is such a thing. Okay, you still won't be able to cast, man. Right? So, here we go. This is the simplest way to join fly line, okay? And it's the easiest. So if you're out in the field and, you know, something happens to your fly line and you want to join it, all you do is you get your knot there, wrap that around like so. See how we've done the loop? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So this is backing, it's not the presentation end of the fly line. Right, just draw your backing, which is usually Dacron of some sort. Okay, form your knot, slide it down to the end of your fly line. With the coatings on your fly line, it should not let go. Right, and then what you do once you've got your knot in the right spot, okay, like that. Pull tight on your knot. Ta-da! We've joined it. There you go. Saved you $40 at a tackle shop, fam. Okay. Now, the next bit is the easy bit. Let's not leave that bit of line anywhere in case a bird comes along and tries to walk through it, because it'll get tangled on its feet. Okay. So, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to try to evenly layer this line onto my spool now. So when you're winding fly line on, it's like a centre pin reel, right? You just wind it on from left to right like so. Okay, wind it onto your spool so that it goes on reasonably level. It's a good habit to get into when you've got a fish on or you haven't got a fish on, because if you can do it instinctively, it saves you a lot of grief later on. Okay, bit of a hello, X-ray specialist punk. Now we should be able to see this one as it's fluoro yellow. This is the I'm going to get another fly reel, okay, because this one's had the pork. Okay, and right, that's better. Yes. Now, can you see that yellow line there? Can everybody see the yellow line? Good. That is going to be far easier to see than what we had on before. So, what we'll do now is, now the reel's going to fall off here, fam. Whoops. And when that happens, right, we will sit with worse people. Culpable ripping out the big ones. Yes. Savagery, Kel. Savagery. Now, a lot of people spend a lot of money on fly fishing leaders. Now, in freshwater, there's a necessity for it, but in saltwater, you don't really need it. So let me show you the best method of making a fly fishing leader in saltwater. And it's like this. Okay? Yeah, that'll do. So if you're casting spot on, right, in saltwater, all you need is one length of fishing line. That's 20-pound line. Yay. Right. So what we'll do is bring that here. The next thing we're going to do is we want to form a little loop-to-loop connection on the end. Right, and look, don't complicate your fishing. You know, it's a little bit frustrating when you see people banging on, oh, you've got to have this to get this. No, that won't catch anything. Rubbish. What I'm going to do here is just do a little loop on the end of this line. Beautiful. Okay. And I mean, you can spend, like I said, fam, oh, didn't need that tooth. You can spend thousands on fishing tackle. It won't necessarily improve your skills. Okay. So, oops. And as I always say, I would invest your time and your hard-earned money into your skill set rather than a false economy. So in the old days, we would say you're either fashion or form. So you could have the roaring great four-wheel drive, the thousands and thousands of, you know, you could go like that and have all the different leaders and all that sort of stuff, which you're perfectly entitled to. Doesn't necessarily mean you'll be a better or a worse caster or fisher than anyone else, okay? Hey there, Bamboozled. How are you, bud? So what we've done, famo, is we've managed to organise a sponsorship starting in January next year. There's a new model of kayak coming into Australia that we're going to be given to promote on YouTube, okay? And I'm not going to give away any more information until we get it landed, so to speak. But the company that we're going to be dealing with is a reputable company, and we're going to start doing offshore kayaking streams. So basically, where we went with the boat, where we saw the 4-meter tiger shark, we're going to go out in a kayak. All right. Now, that's a loop-to-loop connection. When you're learning to fly cast, right, don't learn to fly cast without something on the end, because what will happen is your fly line will end up looking like a trumpet, okay, and sounding like a rifle, really, even if you're casting properly, because it'll like when you start, sometimes you're learning your method and your rhythm and that sort of stuff, and it can affect it. All right, so always, I just get an old fishing fly that I've snapped the end of the hook off so it can't hurt anyone, and I learnt that the hard way, because when I was teaching people how to fly cast, my back ended up well, virtually looking like a bit of a pincushion from all the time that they stuck flies in there. Hey, we got some kangaroos in the paddock up on the hill there. I'll just show you the setting we're in, fam. We're in a remote part of Western Australia, but with our new streaming equipment, we're able to basically get signal from towers miles away. So this beautiful property, we've formed it's going to form a partnership with the people here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be stocking this dam with trout. So we're going to put trout in here. There's going to be, oh, hang on. There's going to be a couple of other dams built, okay, up the top. One's going to have rainbow trout. The other one's going to have brown trout. And with our streaming technology now, because we can get into these remote places, we will be able to provide quality content, which is what it's all about at the end of the day, because let's face it, you don't need to see my ugly mug. So let's crack on with this fly casting lesson. I've got some 20-pound leader on here. Look, with your fly casting, right, just keep it simple. Okay, there's some very, very basic things you can do that will help you out. All right, and what I will do is I will highlight those for you now. We're not actually going to catch anything with this, so we're just going to tie it on the end. Right, like so. Nice to see the microphone's working for a change. But now, I'm going to warn you now, this spool's going to fly off this reel at some stage. I just hope it doesn't end up in the drink. Hey, get out of there. Woo. Right, so. All right, Bamboozled is in here, awesome. we're gonna do the casting first, right? So let me just sort this out on the grass. Now, when you're fly casting, fam, okay, let's go there. Right. So when you're fly casting, right, there's some very simple things that you need to do. Above all else, to ensure safety, okay? So above all else, to ensure safety. So the first thing is, let me just give you the basics. Right. So, one of the basics of your fly casting, which you won't be able to see anyway because it's too far away. What about if I move here? See you, Rich. Oh, culpable. We've had winter weather for the last 10 days since the last stream. It's been that windy. Hey, Mr. Frog, you're not being chased by a snake, are you? Because if you are, you're going to die. Right. Come on, mate. Yeah, don't let that snake get you. Okay. So, one of the first things you've got to remember, and I'll show you this in a second, okay? So, with conventional casting, we have the situation where it seems to work with all physics, where it's the weight of your object that will get it out in the water. So when I'm casting from the beach and I'm using conventional tackle, the fishing rod is the lever. We have the weight on the end with the bait. The weight that we use, or the sinker as we call it, weighs more than the bait. Through leverage, correct application of power and timing when I let my finger go, we're able to propel the sinkers and the baits and whatever we're using, even if you're using lures and that, they're still a weight, if you know what I mean, and send it off towards the horizon. Fly fishing's a bit different, as flies weigh virtually nothing. So how am I going to cast something like that? The hook's been taken off the end, that weighs less than 1 or 2 grams. So the answer to that is, with the people that invented the fly casting, no one really knows. Some people say the Japanese invented it. Aristotle was going through southern Europe, bumped into a bunch of goat herders or Macedonians, which is my breed. You know, even though we're born in Australia, we come from somewhere else. And they were using little red chenille to catch trout with these makeshift like fly rods. No one knows. Personally, don't care. Right. So what we need to do is, we have a thick line, okay, that's going to allow us to form a resistance with this rod. So things are going to have to work backwards. If I treat this as a conventional fishing rod, right, like here, and I cast, whoompa, I have a nice big arc to get my weight out there. If you do that with fly fishing tackle, what will happen is your line will hit structure and water behind you, and then it will hit structure and water in front of you. So the best way to view your casting, okay, hey Alex, how are you, mate? Tidy your room. Anyway, and God help me, I hope I say this properly, you have to view yourself, right? Put yourself inside a clock face. It's a joke about that later on. So this is 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. And it's all about arcs, okay? Now, the other thing is too, one thing, if you've played racket sports like squash, tennis, you know, badminton, or table tennis, it's very hard to pick up fly casting because that's all wrist. In fly casting, there is absolutely no wrist. So a lot of these fishing documentaries that you watch, you'll see them, and you'll see them catching big fish, you know, and you go, oh, they must be awesome. Not necessarily very proficient fly casters, they're just in a situation where they've got fish that'll hit flies, okay? Bamboozled can vouch for this. When you start your fly fishing, if you're in a little freshwater stream that you can't jump over, you're using a 3-weight or a 4-weight, you've got a really timid trout that comes out, feeds and hides again, that's when you learn about presentation and correct casting, you know, bow and arrow cast, parallel cast, shadow cast, all sorts of different casts that you can do. With your fishing, okay, the best way to view this, fishing rods, fishing reels, fishing lines, they're all tools, and we are just glorified hunters, right? So with that hunting, you know, in the old days, fishing was all about sustenance, There's something slithering in the grass there. If it comes out, I'm going to end up over there. No, it's all right. Right, so it's all about sustenance, and you learn essential life skills now. It's done for enjoyment and sport, okay? And, you know, circa 21st century, let's face it, fishing is the rehypnol of social media, right? So, you know, I mean, we tend to do more instructional stuff, and we don't try and hype it up. And we like to do, you know, this informative type of content, and we practice catch and release strictly, okay? And it's just one of those things. So with fishing, when you fish, it's what you want out of it that you'll ultimately get out of it. So let's start with our fly casting. Now this is for beginners, okay? Hello Manzi, how are you, buddy? Hello mate. Oh, that's a swamp hen. Come on, bud, don't be like that. So, the first thing you've got to do with your fly casting is remember that even though we have the fly rod, you know, ourselves and that sort of stuff, you've got to position your body correctly for your casting. So if I go down here, right, actually let's go back here a bit. If I go down here, right, now, as you can see here, I turn myself 45 degrees to my target. There's the butt of my fly rod. There's the tip of my fly rod. I have my line of my fly. Everything flows in a straight line path. Never, ever put your hand in front of any part of your body, okay? Because what will happen is the fly that you're using will make a straight line path for the tip of your fly rod. Whatever is in between the tip of the fly rod and the direction that it takes, right, it will just hit it on the way through. So even though obviously we are using the rod and the line and that sort of stuff, they never cross over. So your fly will work down a straight line path here, okay, provided you don't move your hand in any way. More about that later. Even though you could have 80 feet of fly line, in the air it's only about that wide if you're casting correctly. Right, so you need to have a stable hand and arm position within your body, right, to be able to do that, okay? Then you have your rod tip and the butt of your rod. They might only be that far apart, but when they're working correctly in a straight line path, there won't be any need to cross over. Then we obviously have our wrist and our elbow and ourselves. So, hello Paul, how are you, bud? So what you don't want to do, like I said, is you don't want to put your hand in front of any part of your body. Once you get proficient and you're in a creek and that sort of stuff, and you're fishing for small stuff, you know, just say for example, we've got trees all down this side, then you can sit there, see how I'm using correct positioning with my hand, see how the rod's not moving left or right. You're able to fish, okay, and cast, bump, and then down, and this is straight. So, the grip. Let's start from basics. Every single fly rod and reel and every single fishing rod and reel has a balance point. What you need to do is you need to find that balance point, and you need to put a little dot on your grip. That's where you'll hold the fly rod, and that's where you can hold it all day without any weight, because it's a balance point. You can do this with conventional tackle, you can do this with fly fishing tackle, and it's just a little tip that helps you out, because as a rule of thumb, the fish of a lifetime that you'll bump into will bump into you on the waterway that you're fishing, whether it's salt or fresh. At the end of the day, when you're fatigued, you're switched off, you're tired, and out of nowhere, whammo, it hits. Okay, especially freshwater. On dusk is a good time to fish freshwater. Little things like this, the little 1%ers that all add up to 100% is what can make a bit of difference. So, we have various grips. This is the old continental grip that a lot of the freshwater anglers used. Okay, then we have the thumb grip. Some people still like to use the golf grip. So with the golf grip, they call it, it's like that. Me personally, I don't like that, because once you start getting into 8 weights, 9 weights and 10 weights, right, even though you're fairly strong in the grip, it'll move in your hand and then your wrist comes into it. I use the traditional thumb grip, so that's my balance point. That's where I hold it, okay? And we have a 1-inch rule with fly casting. The butt of your fly rod never travels more than 1 inch from your forearm, okay? Because if it does that, what it'll do is it will open up your arcs and it'll affect your ability to cast. So, let me show you something. There is absolutely no wrist in fly casting, okay? So watch what happens here. Now, can you see the top of the fly rod or not? No. Okay. Let's move to here. Okay, so watch this fly rod. If I move this rod butt, say, 4 inches to the left, see how much my rod has moved across away from my center point on my arm? Okay, so what you need to do is you need to think that any fishing rod, or in this case especially a fly rod, is an extension of your arm, okay? As soon as you move that, the butt of that fly rod, okay, off your forearm like that, you've broken the connection, all right? And it's no longer an extension of your arm. You have a very small window of opportunity with that, okay? Right? So, what you need to do is you need to be able to have a nice strong grip. And the other thing is, okay, don't ever rush when you're casting. You'll be surprised as to how much time you will actually have to be able to cast, okay? Now, what I'll do is I'm just going to go out on this little bridge here. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I'm going to try and get an angle where I can zoom down the fly line, right, like so. Let's bring this here, and I'm just going to show you a few little basics. So let's go with that. Okay. Actually, that should be okay. We should be able to get a little bit of, let's just bring that in. Let's try that, okay. Now, one of the first mistakes that people make, and a lot of people like to learn on grass, okay? I learnt to cast on grass as well. The only problem is, when you learn to cast on grass, you have no tension on your fly line. So, okay. Fly line and the coatings on your fly lines, water has a certain amount of grip, okay? So what will happen is, when you go to do your casting and that sort of stuff, right? Eating flies today, right? Water will grip your fly line, and then you'll be able to use that for the tension from the water surface on your fly line to load your rod. So watch this. If I bring it back, there's the resistance down. See how my fly hits first and then my rod goes last, okay? So one thing a lot of people do when they learn to fly cast, all right, is they will try and cast with not enough line out there to grip their line with the water, all right? So, as I said, fly's going to come down this plane, rod tip, rod butt, my wrist, my elbow, then me, right? So, the secret to your fly casting is you've got to learn to accelerate to a stop, okay? And with the advent of graphite, I can remember using split cane rods when I was younger, and I'm going to have to hold this rod down here around the reel, because otherwise the reel, oh no, you might not fall off. No, it should be okay. Okay, so what we'll do, always try and learn to fly cast initially with your single hand, because once you start bringing your other hand into it with the casting, that sort of adds another dimension to it, okay? There we go. All right. So, bam, and everyone else that's watching, what I need to do is I need to accelerate to a stop. So, if you look at my form here, right, what you do, you turn side on, you have your rod slightly to the outside of your body. Usually you want to bring your hand to a position on your shoulder. I'll show you what I mean by that. Okay, so, oh, the other thing too, getting ahead of myself here. Right. All fishing rods, fly rods, hopefully, are built on a backbone, okay? So, see this? That rod is built on the backbone. If I turn my hand in any way, so if I turn my hand in like that and try and cast in a straight line like this, right, what'll happen is it'll send my fly line and in turn fly out to a position away from me at about 45 degrees. So when I go to power into the cast like that, okay, what'll happen is it'll turn and loop and head straight for the back of my head. If I turn my hand in, and even if I try and cast back like that, see how the reel's out? What'll happen is as I try and go forward, same thing. What you must do, okay, is you must hold your reel and the rod all in line like that, and you must work off the backbone of the rod. So your initial pickup point is like this. Remember, just draw a straight line from this point here. See that, how it's fairly straight? Right, you just draw a line to a point just outside your shoulder, which is obviously the most comfortable, and especially if you're a big bloke like me, you tend to tie yourself in knots, you know, when you're trying to do it. So it's a very simple lift here. You just go up, boom, see that? Back and down. Now, with your fly casting, there's a couple of little tricks that I want to show you. You can only cast your fly line, right, when it's straight. So what I'm going to do, okay, is let me just get this out. Okay, I'm going to put this fly line, right, on the ground behind me. Even though it's on the ground, it's straight. I can still cast it. From a scientific perspective, it will work. From a casting perspective and fishing perspective, not a good idea, because if I had a hook on the end of it, right, it would grip the grass and I'd never get the line into the water. But if I come back here, right, I bring my rod to the correct position like so, and then I cast properly. See that, how I cast it out? That's because the line was straight. When your line is straight, it has tension on it. You need that tension. So what you do is you pick your fly line up in a very smooth action, right, and you accelerate to a stop just shy of vertical. And what that will do is, because your fly rod is pointing and your fly reel is pointing at your target, what it does is it keeps the backbone of the fly rod here and the guides underneath it, and you're working in unison with the fly rod as to how it's meant to be used. So, and obviously I've already cast this, so you come back to here. Now see that? My guides are pointing at my target, the backbone of my rod is pointing away from my target, and what that will do is the rod will bend, it'll come back to a straight position, which sends your fly line flying behind you. Then, as that energy that you put into your cast dissipates, what will happen is you feel a slight bend on the fly rod. You know that your line's straightened, but as soon as your line straightens, it starts to drop. So then you need to go from this position here, right, come here, this position here to here, which is usually, in the old days, we would say between 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Nowadays, with the advent of graphite, it's nearly 11 to 1, because your rod tip will go off to that 10 and then come back there, okay? Now, all fishing rods are designed to do, right, is fishing rods are designed to bend, okay, and try and come back to their original position, which is straight. But obviously, if you've got a fish on the end, it keeps a bend in the rod, and that's the tension, the extension of the arm, okay? Now, each fishing rod, or fly fishing rod especially, okay, hello Aussie Welsh, how are you? Each fly fishing rod, faster tapered rods and ultra fast taper rods will literally snap back to position. They'll bend and come back. Medium taper rods, okay, will take a lot longer to come back to its original position, and the old parabolic blanks that we had in the old days that would bend at the grip take forever. You can have a lunch and a drink of water waiting for it to try and straighten, okay? That's called your coefficient of return. So, as a rule of thumb, if you're learning to cast, a medium tapered rod is a good option, because it gives you a little bit of room for error. As you get more proficient and you sort your timing out and you sort your casting out, then you can go to a faster tapered rod, all right? Me personally, I like fast tapered rods, and once everything else opens up post-COVID, I'm going to start importing fly rods from overseas from our designs, right? But more about that later, okay? So let's go back out to here, famo. Right, I've managed to wind the fly line around every single weed on this dam. I'm just going to wind this up and then start from scratch. Okay, So, come here. Come on. Ooh. Dockweed, gotta love it. Want that out. That's a horrible weed. Let me just let that die now because it's pre-flowered stage. Come on. This is grippy. Ooh, this is grippy. Welcome to Australian fishing, fam. There we are. Oh dear, I don't even know how we managed to do fly fishing all those years with everything we got to contend with over here. All right, so let's get this back out here, nice. Okay, now, with your fly casting, it's all about timing, okay? Probably more so than power. So what I can do is I can sit here, right? There's the resistance forward, back, and you've got to keep your fly off the water, see? I have a slight bubble in my cast sometimes. It's from an old injury from boxing. And you can sit here all day, right? As long as you don't open your wrists up. And I could sit here and keep this in the air all day, right? Now, if I open my wrist up, see how it hits behind and in front of me? That's why there is no wrist in fly casting, see? Then as I close the wrist up, and it's an arm action, don't be afraid to move your body with your cast, okay? There we go. And see how it's just a nice smooth action. So accelerate to a stop, accelerate to a stop, accelerate to a stop, accelerate to a stop. Then when the fly hits, you follow after. With your casting too, right? Once you get your casting sorted, okay, you can cast quite long distances. Shooting line is another area, right? So this is an 8-way. Let's get this out here. Right, so that's nearly a full fly line, fam. Now, I've been fly casting for a long time, so I've learnt to work in with my body, right? So I can, looks like I'm doing it wrong, but I'm doing it reasonably. So what I'll do is I'll bring this back in, okay? The first thing you must remember, one of the first rules of fly casting, you always start with your rod tip on the water and you'll always finish with your rod tip on the water. I'll tell you why. When you go to cast, a lot of people will try and cast from waist height. You've missed all that tension between your rod tip and your fly line by doing that, okay? And also when you go to set hooks, a lot of people will retrieve like this, a fish will hit, they'll lift it up here and then they'll drop the rod tip and the fish gets off, okay? So what we'll do is let's see if we can just get another decent cast out. I'm confident that with my fly gear, all right, so that's a full fly line, fam. Right, that's the end of the fly line there with 2 back casts, okay? I can cast just as far with a fly line as most people can with freshwater gear, right? And there are various little advances to that. So what we'll do is, let's just try and do that once again. Now, I haven't picked up a fly rod in about a year, right? So a little bit nervous today, but it's the same old story. Once you get your technique right, okay, you're able to work through things, right? And then it's just like falling off a push bike, which the last time I did was pretty tragic, but that's fishing, isn't it, you know? So let's go again. The other thing is too, try not to lift your arm up too high or at all. So when I'll do this, I'll come back here, right? See how I've got my arm tucked in, right? Back. See how my arm stays tucked in? As soon as you lift your elbow or your arm, what'll happen is you want to start going downwards in your action. But if you keep your elbow tucked in here, the old thing we used to do in the old days, we'd put a book underneath our armpit, and if the book fell out, you're casting wrong. So what that does is if your elbow's down here, you can cast up, if that makes sense. Okay, all right, so that's the full fly line out of the rod. Okay. Yeah, and mate, when you're using highly buoyant flies, bamboozled, there's a fly that I don't see many people using in America. It's called the Booby, right? The English invented it and won the World Fly Fishing Championships in the 90s. So what they would do was you would use a weighted line, have about 12 inches of leader with a highly buoyant fly with two big foam like balls at the front, hence the name. You know, the English have that dirty sense of humour, right? And what that does is I'll fish with my rod tip on the bottom of the waterway that I'm fishing, you know. So what that will do, okay, is that will keep the fly coming down deep, right? And then from there, what that does is allows it to come in right along the bottom. So with our casting, right, the more line that you have out, okay, the difference in the time frame between your forward and your back cast, okay? So, for example, and a good way to do this, a lot of people that do their fly casting watch a river runs through it and then, you know, they become experts. In that show, okay, they taught their kids with a metronome. So there's a little bit to say with that. So if I've got this much line out here, there's probably about 20 feet there, okay? So what, you go 1, 1, 1, 1, lay it down. If I put more line out like this, okay, like that, and let's bring this in, okay, so drop that down, okay, great. So if I have more line out here, it's like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, okay? And when you're starting your cast, you don't want to have too much line out. You want to be able to shoot it out through your guides, but we'll do that next time. So what we'll do now is, okay, and this is a good way to learn how to cast. Leave yourself some line out like this, right, with the basics. So the first thing you do when you do your back cast is you'll stop and you'll let it drop behind you, making sure that you've got your correct wrist position, nice, okay? So then you'll back cast and let it drop, and then you'll feel that resistance on your back cast, then you go forward. When you feel that resistance, it's a question of letting the line go at the correct time with the rod. So on my back cast, we'll let it drop. So what you want to do is you want to try and keep it in the air. There, there, there. See the nice loop that's formed? Hopefully you can see it on the camera. Let it drop. When you want to shoot the line, when you go through to that power point, see that there? I let that go a little bit too early, right? But, okay, see? I let that go a little bit sooner and a little bit more went out. So, there, back, okay, and then suddenly it shoots the line out. And the only way you get that timing is by learning to figure it out yourself. Everybody has different fishing equipment. Everybody has different techniques, okay? Yeah, short, tall, thin, big like me, you've just got to figure out what works for you. And as long as you keep to the basic principles, what'll happen with that is, okay, you'll just achieve your desired outcome, right? See? And then the line shoots out, smooth as silk, no noise, no splashing, and you won't scare fish, all right? So, now, what I'll do is I'll do this on grass, and I'll show you the different attributes from there. Morning, mate, how are you? Okay, so what we'll do now is, and actually, no, what we'll do, I've got a better idea. Let's bring this down here now. I'm just hoping we can get a little bit more reception. Is that going to be okay? Should be. Okay. Nice, that's charged. Bring that in here. We'll have a few minutes before the phone overheats and cooks. What I'll do is, I'm just going to show you a little technique known as a roll cast, right? And what I'm going to do is show you from the forehand, okay, and show you, yep, I don't want to walk the plank yet. Roll casting, you're not going to see a thing there. Let me just zoom it in. How it looks on the screen compared to how it looks on the phone is totally different, you know? Thank you very much. I'll pop up and
You're okay?
Yeah, great.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
All right,
thank you. Yeah. Makes two of us.
See what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, that's the streaming setup there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's about, there's thousands in there. Oh, yeah, to get it to come down through the, you know, but that's all right. I'll bring it up later and show you.
Yeah.
Not dramas. Right, so let's see if this is working. Okay. Actually, this will probably work now, fam. Great. So, with your roll cast, right? Roll casts are one of those casts that everybody seems to find really hard to do, okay? So, with a roll cast, you'll bring your line behind you like so. No, I don't have enough tension here. What you've got to do, once again, is you've got to work with the tension in your line, okay? So, with my roll cast, I'll bring this up to, actually, let's bring it up here. And what we'll do is we'll get into some spay techniques later with the two-handed. Right, so actually you don't need to see the feet there. Sorry, fam. This is a real luxury for us, so I'm just working this out as we go along. So let's get rid of that. Now you can see God and not me, which is the important stuff. Okay, so roll casting. A lot of people have problems with roll casting, okay? So with a roll cast, what you've got to do is you've basically got to work with the tension in your line, okay? Oh, okay, Bam, I hear you, mate. So what you'll do is you'll bring your line back to here, okay? Now, see here how my line's behind me? Now I can cast. That's your roll cast, all right? Once again, bring that in here. Like so, okay, my line's behind me, now I roll cast, working with the tension in the line. And correspondingly, right, if you're in an offhand situation, you'll come back to here, okay, once again, rod tip pointing out that way, line behind me, boom, I can roll cast, see? All right, a lot of people make the mistake of trying to roll cast with their line in front of them. You'll never do it. All right, and you can also have what's known as a roll cast pickup. So I'll come in here, right, then I'll pick my line up and away. All right, so remember what I was saying about the, now remember what I was saying about everything working in a straight line plane. So if I'm here, right, I'll just get this down here, hang on. Okay, so from that direction where you are, right, I'll actually probably go here, I think. With your cast, watch, nice and straight. See how nothing's crossing over? See how I've got my line down the right-hand side and my fly down the right-hand side, even though I'm casting straight, see? All right, I just come out here. It's a very simple hand position to the shoulder there. Okay, you can go to here, but it just makes it easier. As long as everything's straight, get out of there, come on. As long as everything's straight, okay, you're able to cast in full safety, see? See that there? And that'll send that out, okay? And yes, that's actually the correct position on that last cast. See how it's all arm and there's absolutely zero wrist in it. Okay, it is all arm, and I'm moving the whole arm in unison because your fly rod is an extension of your arm. Okay, remember there's zero wrist in your fly casting. So if we come here, see how that all shot out? I'll show you what it looks like to cast a full fly line from where you are, famo, right? And there's nothing too spectacular with it as long as your equipment's balanced. You've got the right size fly for the line that you're using. It's, you know, a lot of people make a big deal out of it. Where's that tree? I've got to watch that tree. Okay, so that was nearly a full fly line. But as you can see, it's basically the same basics. And then what you do, you just have a little bit more effort to get the line out. You pick that up as you go along. So, right. We'll just run this back on here. With your initial steps with your beginners fly casting and that sort of stuff, what you need to do, okay, is you just need to start off with small steps and gradually increase it over time. Okay, so left hand in the pocket like this. Okay, so pick it up, feel the resistance forward, let it drop. Okay, so from here, straight line path to this point on your shoulder. Boom, that'll load back. Let it back cast before it hits the water. Boom. And then what you do from there, okay, is then you incorporate your other hand, right? And a lot of people make the mistake of trying to push the line through the guides and all that sort of stuff. This is what propels your line. So keep your hand by your side, and you should be feeling a bit of resistance in that left hand, right? And once you learn the correct timing to let that go in terms of your cast, okay. Now that there, what I'm doing there, I've got an open cast here with an open arc. That's because I've been doing so much saltwater fly casting. In saltwater fly casting, what you'll do is you'll have very little obstructions like freshwater, okay? So if I was in freshwater and I was using my 6-weight with trees everywhere, I'd be here, okay? So that's just, you can tell a saltwater fly caster, which is exactly what I just looked like, okay? Hello, Emily, how are you? Welcome to the stream, okay? But as long as I don't have the wrist there, it doesn't matter, okay? All right, so yeah, that's just a little basic one, okay? And what we'll do now, right, now that we can still fly cast, because I honestly thought I'd forgotten, next week, or probably the week after, we're going to be doing a lot more freshwater content on the channel, all right? So, yeah, be prepared for a heap of trout fishing, redfin perch fishing. Now, some of the areas are quite remote, so we won't have a phone tower, but some of them aren't. Where I can live stream, I'll live stream, but where I have a VOD, I will have a VOD, okay? All right? Oh, have you? Okay, well, can the mods ban that, please? Why would they want to? Well done, culpable. Thank you. Okay, so look, everyone. That was mainly a test this morning for the signal as well. Okay. Everything's going to work fine here. So we have this beautiful waterway that we're going to be able to stock with freshwater fish. And also with those freshwater fish, we're actually going to have a couple of more dams that are getting built that we will be able to stock as well. And what that will do is that will provide us a platform to provide content. I like fishing in the rivers and that sort of stuff, but unfortunately the good spots are very remote. Like I said, there's no signal. And this presents us an option to be able to come down here. We can monitor the growth of the fish and all that sort of stuff, right? And then we'll also do little fly tying segments and that sort of stuff as well. And what that will do is just gives us another avenue for content for the channel. So that will all be starting this year, okay? And we'll work from there. So look, everyone, that was a bit rusty. Bam, thanks for tuning in. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a proper VOD on fly casting. All right, that was a little bit off the cuff. You know, we're just going to test whether we've got signal, see how stable the signal is and all that sort of thing, which we've done. So now it's all systems go. Now, the wind has started to pick up. Just to give you an idea, right, what's the time now? Come on. All right, so it's 9 o'clock and the wind is going to start picking up at about 9:30 to the point that it's probably going to blow this phone over, right? And we won't be able to do any more casting anyway, but I can actually cast with a different setup. We use a shooting head system in windy conditions, especially in like saltwater fishing. So what I can do is the next time we have that set up, I'll be able to show you. Look, I'm very sorry about the technical glitches this morning. I'm now streaming out of the YouTube app, right? So we've got no headaches, and that'll be it for today. So I'm going to sign off. Thank you very much for tuning in. Now, with our new sponsorship and the new partnerships we've formed, next year is going to be a big year for the stream. And now that I've gotten over my little health issue over the last few days, which is sorted, okay, we are going to start pumping out the content. We've had one of the worst summers in memory, really, in terms of like the hot weather with no winds. This morning's not too bad, but yesterday it was like a winter's day. They did forecast a very wet summer. So look, thank you very, very much for tuning in. What I will do is I will start pumping out the VOD content now. We'll be having a lot more fly tying. Once we're able to get down south, we'll have the fly fishing, okay? And then that way what we can do is we can just work from there. So tomorrow I'll probably be filming for a freshwater section. Okay, I've got to drive down south and fish on a farm that has private water frontage. With the old days when I was doing my guiding and that sort of stuff, I've got access to about 15 kilometres of river frontage. Now that we're back into the streaming and that sort of thing, we're going to take it, not advantage of that, but use it to provide content. So look, keep being awesome. We will be starting to do daily VODs now, okay? And once the hot weather comes in, which should hopefully be, hopefully before Christmas, then we'll start doing a lot more of that content with reference to our beach fishing. And with our kayak sponsorship, that will be starting in January. And look forward to that, because what we will do is we'll be taking that all over the state. All right, we'll be fishing in the inlets, we'll be fishing the rivers, and we'll be fishing open ocean. All right, bye for now.